Now there's a website to make it even easier for you to say, hey, investigate 38. And we'll take a look at that website tonight, and one of the creators of it is here, Mike Stenhouse from the Center for Freedom and Prosperity. He and a handful now of other good government groups have made a little bit of headway and at least checked off one success story when it comes to openness and transparency in the 38 Studios case. We'll talk about that when we visit with Mike momentarily. How are you? Thank you for tuning in to My State of Mind. I am Dan York. We're here weeknights, 7:30, 11:30 on MyRI TV and Fox Providence at midnight. Don't forget the radio show, weekdays noon to 3 on WPRO. Let us go to the rundown and just think about some of the things that were happening today. Man, when the word came down that there was a major calamity over at Bryant University, I think a lot of us thought the worst, but it could have been. 6 injured. Yeah, boy, what a collapse that is. Here's what Eyewitness News had for us.
Structural collapse here at Bryant University at a facility under construction that's called the Indoor Practice Facility. They just started construction on it. They were erecting steel. Something happened at the site and the steel structure that was in place fell over. We're not sure why that happened. It's under investigation at this time.
They fell about 30 feet if they're up top. There were a couple of them that reported that they were on the top, and the structure itself was 100 by 100, maybe 50 by 100.
Yikes. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, right? And this sets back the plan at Bryant University to have that facility up and running. I believe the goal was to have it up and running by second semester of this school and athletic year, so spring semester 2016. Notwithstanding this accident and all good wishes to those construction workers, Bryant's on the move. They are building facilities, and I'm guessing this won't hamper them long term, facilities that rival any major college athletic program. So be bullish on what they're doing at Bryant. They're on the way up. Little burp there. Thank God everybody's okay. No layoffs last night at the Coventry Fire District, although there was plenty of fireworks coverage of the meeting. Here's the headline. Yeah, so that was one of the things that are on the table. There's some 14 firefighters in the Coventry Fire District. We're talking about one fire station, but the drama there has captured the attention of media throughout southern New England, myself included. Here's a little snippet of the coverage last night.
The Coventry Fire District is staying open, at least for now.
We don't have enough money. We've got about $24,000 in the bank right now, and that's it.
In Monday's fire district meeting, the board was scheduled to discuss laying off all 16 firefighters, but the board voted to delay that conversation. Their chairman, Frank Palin, says there's no money left to pay them.
We're going to cross that bridge when we get there as far as a decision to work. More than likely, I think we're going to have a same type of predicament we had at Central Coventry, where I think our members will end up showing up to work regardless of the money.
Of course, they expect to get paid on a retroactive basis. This is the same union that is immersed in the Central Coventry Fire District problems that are now they're in the middle of bankruptcy proceedings at the federal court, and it's a confounded, quiet mess because there's a gag order on what's going on there. It's not good. These fire districts are a big problem, and sometimes you don't know where to turn, what to say, who's in charge. Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee was on the WPO Morning News this morning and said, well, it's sort of going to be this or sort of going to be that.
And you can't have the whole burden fall on the town because it's a small group of people in the community, and the larger group shouldn't have to pay the tab on that. So you got to figure out some interim strategy, but you do have to follow the lead in terms of the municipal leaders. I believe the state should be listening to them, and I think they are. The meetings are happening, and hopefully something's going to come out very shortly.
So after Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee was talking to Gene Valicenti there, I called up Glenn Shibley. He's the president of the city council. Since the lieutenant governor says you really got to listen to the municipal leaders about this, and here's what he said.
How Anthony gets the money loaned to them, what concessions the unions have to do, work for obviously maybe half pay just to get to December, and then a new contract. I'm not suggesting that. I just know they're in trouble financially, and you know, if you can't go buy groceries, you don't eat for the week.
Pretty deep. Did someone write that in a book somewhere, or was it? Anyway, it's a mess. And Frank Palin, the chairman of that board, the embattled Frank Palin, will be the guest on our program tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. Alrighty. This was kind of weird. So there was a protest, about 150 people strong, at the 195 redevelopment site where the Paw Sox have an eye for a stadium. Kind of a picnicky type of thing. Kind of interesting. Watch this.
What looks like a celebration is a stance.
I'm very much against this stadium proposal.
100 to 150 protesters rally against a proposal for the Pawtucket Red Sox to build its stadium on this 5-acre Interstate 195 parcel of land.
The Paw Sox have a wonderful stadium we've already paid for in Pawtucket.
It's going to be bad for the state. We want this land to be the park that it was designated to be and that we have been working toward for the last 20 to 30 years.
Baseball not been very good to them. You remember the Saturday Night Live bit, don't you? Anyway, okay. By the way, that drummer was very intense, closing the bang, bang, didn't miss a beat, literally. So the Paw Sox, after Eyewitness News said, hey, listen, you got a statement for these 150 people that showed up and said, don't build here? Here's what they wrote. We didn't get a chance to put it up on a graphic. Apologize for that. But here's what they wrote. We're glad there's so much enjoyment at the site today. It well demonstrates what we've been saying all along. The site has incredible potential to serve as a AAA ballpark, activating urban land in a way that could contribute meaningfully to the economy, while also preserving some 3 acres of park space within the ballpark for the enjoyment of all and activities such as kite flying and wiffle ball, which we saw today. I honestly don't know what that means. I honestly, do you? If you do, well, let me know on your state of mind. Because the Paw Sox have completely, the wheels have fallen off their entire public relations effort. I've never seen an organization that had so much equity in a community lose it so quickly. Then again, it's new ownership. Alrighty, Trump and Carson. And down the stretch, well, it's not down the stretch, but you know, it's the early lead. Now they are tied in Iowa. 2 non-politician politicians, CBS reports.
Another new Iowa poll shows 2 non-politicians are now dominating the GOP field. Neurosurgeon Ben Carson has pulled even at 23% with businessman Donald Trump.
I had an incredible medical career. You know, God blessed me and my wife. And we were planning to sit back and relax.
The 63-year-old Carson has been quietly climbing in the polls. He's also one of the few Republican candidates who hasn't had to fend off one of Trump's trademark attacks.
That's because Trump says that Carson's been nice to him. Pretty high level, don't you think? He said that. He's been nice to me, so I'll be nice back. So now all those folks are getting creamed by Trump. All they have to do is be nice to him, and maybe he'll be nice back. This is an interesting dynamic, this whole Trump thing. And I will tell you that there's no doubt in my mind that when you take a look at some of these Iowa numbers and this poll itself, the people who say they'd support Carson or Trump also say they will be quick to find another candidate if they don't think their candidate of choice is a winner, which is why Trump versus the field, and even now Dr. Carson versus the field, don't measure up to a majority number or even close. But it's early, and their early efforts have no doubt been impressive. And any day, I guess tomorrow maybe, the federal judge will make a decision on whether or not we have a football quarterback ready to go for week 1. Funny headline. Yeah, well, I don't know, Jimmy. I don't think you should be thinking that you're going to be starting. I don't know. Here's Eyewitness News capsule.
For the 3rd and final time, Tom Brady walked into this New York City federal courthouse Monday. He again appeared serious and poised, but perhaps annoyed, fully knowing another trip to New York yielded no resolution. Now expect the group on the wrong side of Berman's ruling to appeal his decision in a higher court, making the process even longer. Brady, of course, would need an injunction to play opening night.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If the judge rules for the NFL, Brady asks for the injunction and most likely gets it, appeals, and that appeal process will probably take us through the 2015 season, so no sweat. If Brady wins, it's over. So I don't think Jimmy's getting the football this week, next week, or any week soon, even though he's playing pretty well. Your state of mind is important to us. 228-1886. Email us, Facebook post, tweet. You know how that works. Here's a voicemail sent to us.
I just wanted to respond to your 10-year Katrina story there. I feel bad for the people who lost their homes and had to move out to different places, but sorry, you know, it's like if you're building a hole and the water comes in, whose fault is it?
If you're building a hole and I don't know. What are all the people in New Orleans supposed to say about that one? Some people really have simple solutions for life, don't they? It's a good way to go through life. When we come back, there's nothing simple about 38 Studios, but this request is, stay with us. So a lot happened last week when it comes to 38 Studios. Judge Michael Silverstein said, okay, let's open up all the files, all the depositions, all the testimony in the civil litigation on 38 Studios. Only a couple of days ago, I talked to Mike Stenhouse about that. He's from the Center of Freedom and Prosperity, and he mentioned to me something I didn't even know. And there's a website out there that you can now access, so that's part of our conversation here tonight. Investigate38studiosnow.org is the website where there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why there ought to be an investigation, and you can do one of those lazy because you've got no mind yourself things where you can just kind of copy the email and send it forward. I hate those, by the way. I mean, it's the modern way of registering in, but you know, if people just have to click and send, why not? How are you, buddy?
I'm good. And there's a lot more to that site's functionality coming soon than that.
Like what? So tell me what the initiative is. Well, first let's wind ourselves back.
Sure.
We had Ken Block on and Monique Chartier from Rhode Island Taxpayers. Ken Block, who formed Watchdog RI, Rhode Island Taxpayers last week, talking about the things that they wanted from the whole 38 episode. You were part of a press conference, and these good government groups are now, it feels a little bit like the old days. I don't know when the old days came and went, but I even remember 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago where there was kind of a coalition of good government groups that got very active, and I was happy to see that. You were part of it, and you guys were asking for, remind everybody what you were asking for.
Yeah, we had 4 demands, the first of which was met, release of all court documents. We call on the governor to launch an independent investigation separate from anybody connected in any way to Rhode Island politics. We call on the legislative leaders to provide and support unfettered legislative oversight committee hearings, maybe including subpoena powers. And we called on full transparency, which I think we're going to also get on the 38 Stadium deal, so it doesn't become 38 Stadium.
That's the new cliche?
Yeah, that's the new
cliche. I haven't used it.
Yeah, it's the shortest way to say it. Pawtucket Red Sox relocation project.
We got to talk about, you know what, let's save that for this next segment.
There's a reason I say it.
Okay, so I can't wait to hear that. Neither can you. We'll save that for the next segment. I don't know if you had an impact on Judge Silverstein. Perhaps you did.
Might have helped push it over the line.
Maybe. I mean, he seems to have a good ear on the pulse of this thing publicly. He's a very respected judge here on the Superior Court level in Rhode Island. And what he's now done is avail some kind of organized document dump, and the world is going to have an opportunity to see all the things that have been said in deposition. What is your prediction as to what's going to happen from that exercise?
Well, I've talked to a lot of current and former legislators. I've talked to our good government group allies and other people. A lot of people are calling us. They've got tidbits here and there, some of which are actionable, many of which are not. I don't expect the document dump to tell the whole story of what happened, but I think it will give us some clues. And I think that's why our second and third demands are so important. Those clues are going to need to be followed up on, both by independent investigators and by House and Senate oversight committees. The reason we want the House and oversight committees is so we don't focus so much on the criminal element, but on what happened politically. How was the game played? And let's do it in a public, open forum. Independent investigators, the state police do everything behind the scenes and Taxpayers are sick of behind-the-scenes stuff. So let's have an open investigation in the House and Senate.
Well, let's go down the checklist.
Yep.
The governor, we've run this clip before. I don't think we have it handy, but we'll make sure we do whenever we have this conversation. But the governor told Tim White in a debate last primary season, yes,
Yep.
when he asked, will you have an independent investigation? She has since backpedaled and said she wants to stand behind this civil litigation and wait and see. Well, Judge Silverstein might have accelerated the wait and see, because I think that these documents will create more questions.
Yes.
They will provide some answers,
Yes.
but will create more questions.
Right, and we need to follow up on those. Listen, in Washington, D.C., we've got Trey Gowdy's House Committee investigating Benghazi and the email gate, and you've got an FBI, apparently, investigation going on the Clinton email gate. They're happening simultaneously. They're not waiting for one to get done before we start the other. That's just kicking the can down the road, excuse me, by the governor.
Well,
I
I think the governor's politics in this obviously are a calculation. Listen, everything is political. Doesn't mean it's necessarily nefarious, but she and the speaker are not always in the same place. And the speaker is adamant that the General Assembly and the House specifically have no role in investigating themselves. Tell me about that.
Well, we talked about this on your radio show. You know, when the speaker came into power and he reorganized the leadership of the House Oversight Committee, putting Macbeth in, and at the time Spencer Dickinson.
Representative Karen Macbeth.
Yep.
From Cumberland.
Yeah. It was pretty well known and tacitly acknowledged, I think, by the speaker that they were going to investigate 38 Studios. So back then, a couple of years ago, this was clearly an investigation being done by the House, and now all of a sudden it can't be? Can't have it both ways.
Well, he doesn't want to pull out.
What do you have an
subpoena
oversight
power.
committee for?
Yeah. I fail to recognize how thick the speaker is on this particular matter. I think the governor is just hiding behind a bush, but the speaker seems to be thick. Here's the guy that really cracks me up. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. The Attorney General, Peter Kilmartin, well, he said last week that he was kind of intrigued over this document availability from the civil litigation, because even he doesn't know. Yeah. The Attorney General of the state of Rhode Island actually semi-proud of the idea that he's not fully informed as to what happened with this case.
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't want to talk about him directly, but the fact that he was in the General Assembly compromises anything he does. It just has to raise questions.
He was part of the leadership group. He got out just before this May 2010 vote that authorized the money for 38 Studios, or the loan guarantee.
He can't be objective in it, obviously, and that's not a dig against him, right? I mean, he was there. That's why you need someone outside who wasn't there to investigate, and that's why it troubles us to hear the state police saying we're coordinating with the Attorney General on our investigation. You see, it just creates all these questions. You can't help it. Again, that's why we need independent and open investigations like we've called for.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about what you can do, and then this whole 38 stadium thing and what all that concept means. Stay with us. Back with Mike Stenhouse from the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. The website, can we pop it up again, Laura, if you get a chance there? The investigate38studiosnow.org, you know, runs down a narrative and asks, you know, questions like, how did this deal come to pass? When was it done? Why was it done with the state of Massachusetts rejecting 38 Studios? Who were the advocates for the deal? What were the motivations of the people who advocated for it? How to ensure this kind of thing will never happen again? On the radio, I mentioned to you, and I hope that you guys, when you revise your language here, ask this question. Who carried the idea to the legislature? Who knew?
Right.
Because so many reps will tell you that they had no idea what they were actually voting for eventually, other than Bob Watson, the Republican, who made a screaming speech
right on,
about
wasn't
it. They'll tell their constituents, hey, you know what, I voted for a $125 million loan guarantee. I didn't know $75 million was in the pipeline for Kurt Schilling and his deal. So I hope you add that question, because that's important. And you know, whether this leads to criminal indictments and prosecutions is anybody's guess. But we have got to cleanse our soul of this thing.
The only way to
cleanse guys like
it,
you start making quips like 38 Stadium.
Right. And I do it on purpose.
Why?
Because 38 Studios represents everything that's wrong with insider crony politics in this state. People get it. It's easy to understand. It's out there, and it's emotional. And we must make an example of it for two major reasons. One, We must hold those people accountable. You're gonna get involved, whether you're a legislator or any kind of appointed or elected official. You're gonna get involved in defrauding the people of Rhode Island, defrauding your own General Assembly peers who didn't know what they were voting on. There should be a political price to pay at the ballot box. Voters need to know. Second of all, more important to us, is that it's bad public policy. Too many people up there in Smith Hill think that the 38 studios or this stadium deal is economic development in and of itself. That's all we need to do is keep giving tax breaks to special industries or special companies, and the few jobs they bring in, that's economic development. That is false, and we must stop that. We need a much larger, broader economic development plan for this state, and I'm concerned that the Brookings Institute plan that the governor and her allies have commissioned is just going to be more special interest cronyism. This stuff must stop, and we must make an example of 38 studios.
Well, quickly, what's the alternative to this cronyism? What
broad-based regulatory and tax reform. Broad-based.
Period.
For everybody, period.
Just reset
Create
the table.
a better environment for individuals and families.
If you build it,
and
they will
businesses.
come. That kind of thing.
No, theirs is if you build it, they will come. We're going to invest all this money in these companies or these infrastructures and hope that economic activity follows. We're following a proven method that if you create a good business environment.
Well, I guess it's two versions of build it. Come,
yeah, I guess
because
so.
if you
I see what
build
you're
a
saying.
tax-friendly environment,
Create one, yeah.
You see, they think you're just a broken record, that you're coming back to tax reform, and I support you in that because tax reform is
not cronyism.
But it's not. There's not a whole bunch of ways to create opportunity. Tax reform is one of them. When something is less expensive to do business, it's better. But I really think that I'm glad that you good government groups are now putting the pressure on in a big way, because we need to finally create this political enema and for once and for all give people a sense that it was fully vetted and explained, investigated, and maybe we can put it away, because every public-private financing project right now that the governor or the speaker want to support will be dampened by this 38 thing.
Yes, we must
You'll
move
call
forward,
38 everything.
Right.
And that's not, I don't think that's intellectually honest, but I understand why.
We got to investigate it, do the postmortem, bury it, and then we can move on cleanly. Now that website is there's two tabs on there, if I may. Can I take 10 more seconds? There's a legislator tab, a Senate and representatives. We will be tracking which General Assembly members support or don't support unfettered legislative oversight committee hearings. They need to go on record now to put some pressure, hopefully upward, on legislative leaders to get that done in the General Assembly. Because as you know, everyone wants to just bury it and keep it quiet.
Well, every legislator who's had a door-knocking exercise will tell their constituents they know nothing, they see nothing. I think the 2016 dynamic is going to be different.
Yeah, you got an election year, and it's going to be hard. Imagine a legislator saying, no, I don't support open investigations into 38 studios. We want to put that pressure on them.
And investigate 38studiosnow.org. All right, we'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Dan.
One more thing. Stay with us. By the way, did you see this? When I first looked at this, I got dizzy and fell off my chair. Can you show what monitor do we have? This is the monk. Oh, God, I got to hang on to the table. This is the monk that had the drone catch him on top of the thing there in Portsmouth. That's a real photo from a drone. That guy's sunbathing. Okay, I'm so dizzy I have to end the show now. That's relaxation, he said. Oh, my God, he must be close to God. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow at noon on WPRL. I'm really busy. Bye.